You're now watching two old farts making noises.
Joe, do you want to know why some businesses succeed and some businesses fail? Why some businesses grow and some businesses don't? That's what this show is all about. Business, business, business. Ooh, I love it. Music just pumps you up. I gotta find someone playing like on the way to the golf course on a Saturday in New York or in Florida. That's like listening to this on the podcast in their car, and they get to that music and like, and then they go play golf, like and hit the golf ball. So that's right. Awesome. So here's a cool thing, just for everybody watching the Lost Dollar on YouTube. But if you're listening to Lost Dollar, don't forget we're on TikTok. Everything's under Two Old Farts Making Noises, by the way. So we're on TikTok, Instagram, where we put our shorts. For the people that like Lost and Found, that runs after this show, that goes all on TikTok, and it also goes on our YouTube channel. We don't do that as a podcast. So if you like Lost and Found, you can go there, because that's where David usually talks about, a duck saving the planet. It's weird, ridiculous, crazy thing. And then that's it. So David's not with us today. He's getting all his blood taken out and put new blood in because he's 10 million years old, and that's what they do. Mm-hmm. So there you go. I think that was what he told me. That he was going to lunch. I can't remember, at the nursing home. Who remembers? Anyway, there you go. So, Michael, what are we doing today?
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Good to see you all. So we got Kurt the Canuck, John the grumpy old man, and we got Steven, one of the old folks, and me, Michael, your Bandicoot.com representative. All right, guys. Wow. So We've got a big topic today, which is the electric car market in Vietnam. This Vietnamese electric car maker has a huge valuation. It has not yet turned a profit, so we're going to talk about that. It's called VinFast, and that actually ties into the second part of the or same topic but similar aspect, is the Inflation Reduction Act and the CHIPS Act, which were passed in the United States. And those were really valuable ways, we think and we hope, for high-tech manufacturing to at least a little bit come back to the United States. So those are big topics for our day.
Do we really think, though? Do we really think that they're gonna whatchamacallit? Do we really think that
make
just
a profit?
They passed the CHIPS Act,
or are they going to have
no, forget that. Right. Well, when you say chips, first of all, I think of the television series from the 70s with Larry Wilcox and Area Estrada. So I'm thinking of the California Highway Patrol Act, and I don't understand why that's going to bring in the chip manufacturers. But it's funny to me that they think that bill is going to do anything. Just because you pass it, you actually have to do action behind it. Like, our government's great at just doing stuff that means nothing.
Well, apparently there are already $220 billion worth of projects out there that have been subsidized or at least partially funded by this act. Right. So that's a start. And they're talking about the Financial Times estimate, our good Financial Times.
I love
maybe they should endorse us. 100,000 jobs is their starting estimate. So,
but then they do that with the guy. Who was the Chinese chip company came in when Trump was president. They touted all this ridiculous crap, and they're going to do all this money and jobs and whatever. And 5 years later, nothing happened, right? And here's what I think is interesting: you subsidize $20 billion to a company like Intel, let's say, or these big companies. They don't need your $20 billion. You know who needs it? Like, if John wants to start a semiconductor company, and he wants to start a chip company in nowhere, New Jersey, because he wants to go to New Jersey anyway. In nowhere, New Jersey. He needs that. But why are you giving it to the Fortune 1000? That makes no sense to me. It's like, that's not doing me any good. That's just going into some CEO's pocket bonus, and that's ridiculous.
Wow. All right. So you're saying for all of these, the 10 biggest projects, which are right, they're massive companies: Intel, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, IBM, Micron. All right. Those are all projects in Arizona, New York, Idaho. So you're saying that's all an illusion. It's not.
Yeah, it is, because they don't need the money. They have the money. They're all cash rich. It's not like they need, but if the four of us
And
decide to
tax
start
breaks and tax breaks to go into these areas.
Right, because they're paying
I can't believe I'm here defending the CHIPS Act.
I know, right? They're paying the lobbyists, they're paying this. But here's my thing about that. If the four of us decided, or we'll say David comes with us, the five of us decide that we're going to start a semiconductor company, right?
Yes.
And we need tax breaks and we need a building, but let's say we're going to go to Detroit, right? Because you can get factories because they want to bring up Detroit. And we go apply, we'll be laughed at because we're not some billion-dollar company with lobbyists and a congressman and a senator and everybody else in our pocket. We're nobody. So when they say they do this, I'm like, I don't care, because you're not doing anything for the small business.
The true innovators.
If I'm mistaken, please leave a comment, or if somebody that knows this better than we do and you're a small business that got money from the CHIP Act, by all means come on the show. But I don't ever see that. I've never seen a small business get it. It's always like IBM, Intel, and I'm like, okay, but you have 500 million or billion in the bank. Why do you need another 20 billion from us?
Right.
Why do you need my billions? Like, I want to help a small little company and go from there. Yes, John, go ahead. Tell us why I'm wrong.
No, look, it doesn't work like
shit.
They passed this law and they have 400 billion that they're going to dole out. They don't you don't go to the Ministry of Infrastructure like you do in China. No,
right.
You build, you look at the law, you say, okay.
They cut John off because they don't want to know about the law.
The Chinese cut John off. That's what happened.
Yeah, the Chinese don't want that.
They don't want it. They don't want that.
Yeah. Don't say it.
But so, I do. Wait, John, you got cut off.
Wait, hold on.
You got cut off. We lost you.
So
come back. So you're. It's not like the Chinese ministry, and then we lost you because the Chinese cut you off. Now try again.
So it's not like you have to make a proposal to the government for a project and they will, tell you, okay, here's a bunch of cash, go ahead and do it.
Right.
So they're not a venture capital, fund that just says, okay, so that's the difference, right? So if you're a startup, okay, you have to basically get the financing on yourself, and put the team together and actually build something, and then if you meet the requirements of the bill, you'll get a credit to offset your upfront costs or whatever it is.
But that's useless. But that's useless. If I'm a startup and I can make a better chip than just say Intel or any of these other people, if I have and I can make a better chip, why can't the government, out of this 20 billion or 400 billion or whatever this fakakta number is, and they look at that and go, they can make a bet. You know why? Because I don't have a lobbyist. I don't have a congressman and a senator in my pocket. I can go through the list of why, right? My thing is, if you really want to make America, everybody, and I hate to say this, what Trump calls America, make America great again. If you really want to make America great again, then you really have to start letting the entrepreneurs who have better ideas than these behemoths to do it.
Here's the problem. We're not going to get 10 guys in a freaking, building in DC.
I know.
Deciding who should get a financing for a startup, right? What the hell qualifications do they have? And every time the government picks winners and losers, they do a bad job. So,
I mean, like the guy when they picked the guy to make the Obama healthcare site, and they spent $3 billion, it couldn't work. Some guy came in over the weekend, some consultant, and he fixed it like in a day. He's like, that was pathetic. But that's the problem, is our government is clueless. They don't have anybody with brains. They have bureaucrats that just want to get money.
Okay, so I don't love Biden.
Right? You don't love him? He loves you. He told me.
He's a bumbling old fool, but that's manipulated by somebody else. But anyway, by aliens, right?
Aliens, lizard people.
Yeah. But it's that's the way our system works. And I'm not for the government picking winners because they don't do a good job.
Right.
So yeah, it's tough for a startup, but a startup has to prove it and get the money and and they can start a project. It's just that, let's be honest. To start a brand new chip company is a huge thing,
Right.
because
But
you
here's
can have
I have a question, John. But is
you
it
can have the
other than
design.
technology, right?
Yeah, you have the design. You have a chip design, which is what Apple does, and then it goes to TMC, right? Taiwan Semiconductor, and says,
Right.
"Hey, here's the design. Can you build me the chip?" Right. So you can have chip design companies, but at the end of the day, you need somebody to produce the actual physical
Produce it.
chip.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's a huge commitment. It's a 5 years to, at least in the U.S., to build a plant, and it takes 10 to $20 billion, and you have to get the timing right, because if you get the timing wrong, and there's a glut of chips in the world, all of a sudden prices just collapse, and we know that because we've seen the
or
cycle.
it'll be obsolete.
Yeah.
before
Right.
Yeah.
That's even worse.
But if you
Yeah.
have a better process, let's say, and it doesn't cost $1 billion to build a factory, and you have a process that literally costs $1 million, and I can make a better chip, faster chip, turn it around quicker. In theory, I should be able now, with the California Highway Patrol Act, be able to go to the government and go, I am a chip manufacturer, and I have 25 employees, and I can do it better, quicker, and faster, and I can prove it. I will bet you that the government will turn down their request for however much money they're looking for to get to the next level, because they are not one of the top 10. And some bureaucrat that doesn't have an IQ, that knows nothing about chips, let alone where they go in the laptops of the
Yeah.
cars, is going
Right.
to say no. And that is why I just laugh when they pass these bills. I don't see where they help. Even the infrastructure bills in America, they help nothing. And and everything takes longer. It takes 20 years for the big dig in Boston. In China and in Japan, they build high-speed rails in a day and a half, and they work. So our problem is that we're just too bogged down. We're too overloaded with bureaucrats and people that don't do anything, to where we can't get our country now to move forward. And that is the problem. And so I'm
Well,
glad we
okay.
passed this
Yeah.
act, but nothing happens. We just all sit here and look at each other.
Things take long in the U.S. and in Europe, but the mere fact that these companies are gonna get a credit, they're already deploying cash, and they're actually building the factories, the chip.
Well, there's also part of the. I mean, the article, and many people talk about the lack of workers to even build the factories, and then to feed the factories.
Yeah.
So
So
there
even
needs
if
to be funding for even that, for the ancillary support.
Yeah.
Not just the.
Yeah. No, you're
the
right.
expertise for the workers.
We don't have the bodies, technically.
We don't have the bodies. That's a
Yeah.
real.
Because
That's
nobody
a real
wants to. Nobody wants to do it. There's
Then
a.
it goes.
Yeah,
Let's see this.
well, here, so there was something the other day I saw, which was interesting. A guy built a 3D house with cement and whatever.
Yeah.
It cost 20 grand to build. It took them like 4 days instead of 6 months. So what's going to end up happening at some point is we're going to really have PhDs building factories, because they're going to have to use all this new technology, so to speak, right? And I'm okay with that. Or you bring up the construction workers today that are breaking their back with a shovel and whatever, and they can learn how to use the technology. But what's happening is now nobody wants to work. Like, this pandemic has got us to a point where people like, work? No, I mean, it's like, so we are becoming like just this lazy society. I'm not saying
You think AI is helping with that?
To an extent it does, but until I can tell how to go build a house, and how can produce a army of drone robots that are going to go build my house or my factory, AI is not really doing anything. What AI does is it helps increase productivity, from what I see on our side, but I don't see yet where it's building. It's physically building. I'm sure when Hal takes over in a few years,
that'll be a different story.
He'll be able to produce his little minions of robots to do what they want, and I'm good. Go build a house, build a car, whatever. So in that respect, I'm okay with it. But yeah, right now when they pass this stuff, I'm just laughing. It's just like, okay, so the shareholders are going to make money, and I'm happy about that, being a shareholder. But it doesn't do anything for the American public. And it doesn't really do it. All we're doing is just like F you, China. And the only reason we're building chips is because we're afraid you're going to invade Taiwan. If you invade Taiwan, we can't have chips for our CD players and our phones and our cars. That's why we're doing it. Let's not kid ourselves. We're not doing it for any other reason that America's afraid that if China invades Taiwan, we're screwed. And that's let's say if you start peeling away the lenders.
Well,
I think there's a few other issues in there as well. And correct me if I'm wrong. It's like, where does this money come from? Where does it originate from? Exactly, right?
Yeah.
It's coming out of taxpayers' dollars and all the rest of it. But then when it circles all the way back, it ends up in a trickle-down economic system.
Right.
Again, right? Which is what we've spent decades trying to get away from, because we know it doesn't work. CEOs will always fill their pockets. Top management will always fill their pockets long before it trickles down back to the same economy where it came from in the first place, right? Which it was supposed to actually benefit, but it doesn't. You're lucky if 10% of it makes its way back to the person who actually paid for it.
Right.
So, to me, that part of the system is broken. I agree with every single person on the panel, because I think all of those points make sense. But at the end of the day, houses are being built by robots right now. There actually are complete systems which are built modular, right? And you can throw a house together once the foundation is in place. You can put the house together in under a day, right?
Yep.
So it's already there, and it's only going to get faster. All of these things are already there, and they're already going to get faster. Yes, you can go to Taiwan, China, and places like that, put together chips, put together whatever you need a lot cheaper. Obviously, because everybody on this side of the ocean wants to get paid $30 an hour to do what somebody's getting $3 an hour to do over there. Okay, we get it. It's there's no mystery there. But on the other side of it, if you look at the way that car manufacturing used to be, there was an effective, a pure trickle down, if you will, where you had all these small companies that were surrounding a manufacturing plant. And they were all feeding materials. They're feeding parts. Right. They're feeding that to the plant. So therefore, that money was actually making its way back to the public, right? It was through jobs and many different levels and good paying jobs. But we're not seeing that right now. And there is, I think, lies the problem, is they throw the money over, right? And it looks good on paper. Oh, we're, chips, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's literally like throwing a missile over to Taiwan or to China, and we don't even see the effect of it coming back, right? There lies the problem. You have to have, yes, of course, that makes sense on one side, but there has to be jobs created on the other side that make sense. Right. And that's never in the planning when these bureaucrats get together and put these things together. They're just looking at, big picture, show a number, pat each other on the back, happy days, but there's no long-term thinking in this.
I agree. I agree. I think we're just a good old boy network. And that's great, like I said, for shareholders, and it's great if you're a CEO and you're going to retire soon and you need to take your $100 million golden parachute. And we've really just become a society of greed is good and Gordon Gekko. And to an extent, that's okay. But there's got to be a society that says greed is good, and we still have to make sure that everybody comes along for the greed ride.
That's right.
And if not, my mom used to say this, and as I'm getting older and seeing what's going on in our country, she said at some point there's going to be a civil war, and you're not going to stop it this time, because people are just getting fed up. Like this next election coming up, regardless of whether it's the guy that John doesn't like or the guy that's going to go to jail because he's being charged 27 times with different counts of whatever. No matter who wins, we're such a country that's divided. It doesn't matter anymore. There's going to be a civil war over this, or there's going to be a civil war over something, because it doesn't matter. If Trump wins, everybody's going to leave the country because no one wants to live under a North Korean type dictatorship or a Hitler dictatorship, which is what this is. Right. And no, I'm serious. Think about it. If you read the history books, that's what we're going to. And if Biden wins, guys like John don't like it because he's just old and thinks he's being controlled by somebody else. So as Americans, we don't have a lot to look forward to. So when there's not a lot to look forward to, then it's when you have anarchy. I'm just saying.
All right.
Well, this is why we have to find things to look forward to.
Yeah, look,
we got nothing to look
you
forward to
might
except
not
the
like it.
Vietnam things.
Yeah, I think a good point to maybe jump off on the subject is, solutions. How would we, in a perfect world, if we were actually part of those meetings, what would we suggest to do it better, right?
Here's what we would suggest. Hold on one second. I'm going to show you what we're going to suggest. This is going to make Michael very happy.
Get the freedom and the flexibility of remote work in the lucrative tech industry. Bend your life around the world. Bandicoot is the premier course and community for thriving in a remote tech career. Join the revolution today. Bandicoot.com, official partner of the Lost Dollar Business Club.
See, told you that would make Michael happy.
Hell of a segue. Hell of a segue.
Very happy. Very happy.
This is what happens when you let the Jew run the
It's a
control
very
board.
hopeful advertisement.
There you go. See,
Well,
David's not here today, so we're not going to have cha-chings and all the other stuff. The only thing I can do is push 3 buttons, and there's that one's one of them. So let's get off of this topic because this is just going to take us down a rabbit hole that we have to be on a whole different network for. The next thing I know we wanted to talk about was this Vietnam electric car
VinFast.
company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they make small cars because the people there are very small. No, I'm just kidding. So why? You can't say that.
They export these cars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So let's talk about that. Like, I want to know about their battery life because Porsche came out with an 800-mile-an-hour, an 800-mile battery, which I'm very excited about because you can actually drive your car somewhere. So what's their battery life? I know they're losing money. I'm sure Musk is.
They're not profitable. They're not profitable.
Oh, there's a good reason for it. Their price tag is actually higher than a Tesla, right?
But is the car better?
No.
Then that's a problem.
And there lies the rub. I mean, on paper, there's about 100 brake horsepower more coming from their vehicle, but the actual performance of it is in line with the Tesla. And in some cases comes in a little bit lower. It actually doesn't have a better battery life than the Tesla, right?
Okay.
So the Tesla actually comes in cheaper, is already been in the market. So therefore it's kind of hard to kick them off the toadstool they're standing on. And when you come with a vehicle which isn't blowing them away on miles to the kilowatt, and at the same time producing something better with more room inside, all the rest of it. Yeah, some things are a little bit better, but not enough to say, hey, it's worth 10 grand more.
Yeah.
Or is it just for people that hate? Is it for people that hate Musk? Elon Musk, not Musk.
Right, that's
right. Is it a? See, here's what's really funny. Lucid makes a phenomenal car. Like, I've driven their car. Lucid is $160,000. It's an electric car, and it is, oh my God, it's like being in an airplane. The way it's designed, the looks, the construction, I think is better. And I always say this when I watch these guys talk about cars or whatever. I'm like, this is great. It looks all pretty. Like, I drove it. I'm like, I would buy this car. But then my back of my mind is like, Lucid, yeah. But here's the thing. What happens? I don't know what happens in 3 years. Like, I know in 3 years Teslas are crap, right? I already know all the problems. It's all out. So even on a supercar, when a brand new supercar comes out, I'm like, great. But what's the maintenance in 3 years, right? Like, what's it going to look like? How bad is it? So if it's better maintenance wise than a Tesla, then is it worth it? Maybe. Lucid, everyone I know who has one says nothing but great things about it, and they don't care that we're expensive.
For now,
and I'm a big believer. For now, it's only been out for 2 years.
$150,000. We're talking. Who the hell cares? I mean, build me a car that's everybody can drive. That's reasonably.
Did you miss the last segment on the chip thing? Have you missed that word? That's not happening, John. Do you live in America?
Not sure,
But I mean, that's just. I don't know. Okay, it's wonderful, but 160,000. I mean, according to the Fed, the average American has, maybe $500 to $1,000, in their, in the savings account. I mean, we're talking $160,000 car. I mean, okay.
Yeah, but the for the people who have it.
Yeah.
Look at Porsche. Porsche has an electric car. It's almost 300 grand. Goes 300 miles on a charge.
I love all these, they get the attention of the media, and it's great, but at the end of the day, it's sort of okay. It's
But
point.
Tesla's not a great car,
to the
though.
luxury
In my
market.
Right, but in my opinion, Tesla's not a great car. It has lots of problems. I mean, it likes to run over and kill people, apparently. The batteries like to blow up. I mean, it's been in the news. As we talked about a couple weeks ago in a Reuters article, Elon Musk has a group of guys, and all their job is to do is squash any bad news on Tesla.
Right,
So,
sure, yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of like there's got to be something better than a Tesla.
So is
See. I'm not
VinFast
a
better?
Musk fan. What? I don't know if this is better. I haven't driven it. I don't know anybody that
VinFast?
owns one.
Yeah. What do you think,
So
Kurt? You think?
Well, they only produced 11,000 of these cars last year, and Tesla's still doing
Jeez.
close to 1 million.
Yeah.
when did Tesla do its first
Over
few years?
800,000
Like
a year.
5. When did Tesla do their first few years? 5. They came out with that sports car that that 5 people bought that they never produced. They came out with another car they never produced, and in the first year they delivered like 20,000 cars. So these guys are no different. If you want to start stacking them up, I think apples to apples to what Tesla did its first few years too.
I think
You know what I
Elon
mean?
Musk is trying to get into a position where he's monopolizing enough markets that he's got clout everywhere. The Tesla will become the Datsun of the electric car in short order if any other manufacturers come out with something superior, right? It's
And
only
for
a
the
matter
people
of
that
time.
don't know, a Datsun is now called Nissan. For the people that the younger kids don't know what a Datsun is.
Yeah.
The Datsun used to be like they had the 280, which was the sports car, and then they rebranded to Nissan. So and then they became I think Lexus. Are they a Lexus or are they Affinity?
No.
I forget. One of them.
Lexus is Toyota.
Lexus was the Toyota.
Yeah, and then Infinity is Nissan, and look how good that does.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, but on the everyone's trying to do the electric car because we're saving the planet. But then if you start peeling that on your back, not really. It's just same pollution, same this. It's just the car's not emitting gas. It just takes more pollution to make it. And then no one can tell you how you're going to get rid of the battery after 10 years.
Oh yeah, that's
And
still moving out.
like say all these things. So once again, no one has forethought. They all have, we have to do it now. Okay, what about tomorrow? What about this? I'm not saying the Lucid's a great car, John. Like I think for when I drove it, it was awesome. I like the style. I like the body. I thought it was, I would buy one tomorrow, except there's no charging stations. And I don't, where am I going to go? A 300-mile charge, you can't go anywhere. So
Right.
I'm
It doesn't
excited
have a
about an
Tesla
800-mile battery because I could drive somewhere. But I still say in the back of my mind is, what am I going to do with the battery? Like I have a friend who has an i8 BMW. In 2023, I think, or 24, his battery warranty is done, and so they know they have to replace it, and it's like $15,000. And he says to me, "But what are they going to do with the battery? Like, what's going to happen?" And so
Well,
the
they all
question,
have
I
that
know,
problem.
right? But nobody, but at least my car that I put gas in, I know when it gets destroyed, that what they do, like they scrap the parts, they do this, they do that, right? Somebody can rebuild the car, they can make it better, they can, like you see cars from the 1940s and 30s still going.
Yeah.
But and not doing anything. So what am I going to do with these batteries? I'm happy that there's a company trying to compete with Tesla. There's Chinese companies that make better products. I'm sorry, John. And electric cars that go better and faster. Porsche's product is better out of the price point. There's other companies that are coming out. But my thing at the end of the day is, so what am I doing with your battery? Like, how are you going to make me be more environmentally sound? But you have a battery that's going to go where? And wherever you put it, it's going to pollute wherever it goes. Or unless we're going to do what we do with nuclear waste, we're going to build a lead mine in a mountain and throw it in there and pray to God nothing happens for 1,000 years. No one's thinking through A. We got to A, everyone's all excited. Oh, Tesla, it drives itself. Who cares? What about B? What about C? What about all the way to Z? No one thinks through that.
Yeah, well, it is what it is, right?
Yes, John, it is what it is.
No,
We're all
but
gonna die.
If somebody is gonna, if there's a model that you can recycle all these parts from the batteries and electric cars into a profitable business, then somebody will come up with doing that. Otherwise, it'll just get dumped in some big hole and or shipped to some other place where maybe they can scrounge some value out of the minerals. I don't know.
It's just scary.
It comes back to what you said in the previous week about the fact that, the original idea that Tesla had versus what ended up happening through Edison or whatever. That, if electricity wasn't for sale, it wouldn't need to be stored.
Right.
And the fact that we have to store it, there's more money going to the utility companies and making taking dirty fuel to make clean fuel, blah, blah, blah. We go round and round and round because of the fact that there's money to be made from it. If there wasn't money to be made from it, we wouldn't be in the shit that we're in now.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. It's just, once again, greed is good. And it's so good that our planet's getting destroyed and no one's thinking past A. Everyone's just thinking about, am I going to make money from my boats?
There is an EV battery recycling industry that is cropping up. I mean, there are companies that are investigating, figuring out how to dismantle the batteries, crush them up, get those rare earth minerals out of it. There are people doing that, but you're right. I mean, I agree with you. For the most part, companies and the public are not thinking about long-term effects of electric vehicles, and they're just rushing into the green revolution for the sake of the subsidies that are being provided. So it's
I mean, I think it was not in as soon as the subsidies go away, the sales just kind of crash in most of these.
Yeah, because there's nothing there then. It's over, right? So who knows?
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. Welcome to America, everybody. Smoke and mirrors. That's our name here.
So
I think it would be wonderful if they can go further with mobile nuclear technology.
Yeah.
Nuclear cars, huh?
Why not?
Oh my God! Could you imagine the accidents? There'd be mushroom clouds all over. This will be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's the problem, but it's
in their lies the rub, as they say.
In their lies the rub.
Right. Yeah, okay, very cool.
But,
gentlemen,
lost dollar, found dollar.
Should we do lost found dollar? This will be exciting. Wait a minute. I think I'm going to push the right button this time. We don't know. Let's not get carried away. Let's see. If you like the Lost Dollar Business Club, you should subscribe. If you like it that much, you should also tell a friend of yours. So you should subscribe and like. Also, you should put comments below so we know what you're thinking. Tell us what shows you want to hear. Just help us make it better.
So who's lost a dollar this?
Yeah, who cares? So who lost and who found a dollar? We got it, David. Okay, so here's the best part. David's not here today. So I have a David lost found, and of course I have a Steve lost found. So I'm going to do mine, and I'm going to say David's for the end because we have to, of course, have something concocted crazy at the end. I have one for David that I literally read on the Financial Times this morning, and I was laughing, and I said to myself, "It's a shame David's not here because this is perfect." But anyway, so the lost dollar found today is the Chinese real estate company Evergreen is going bankrupt. And I think there's the whole Chinese real estate market, which they kind of know is about to implode. So I think that for John, that's a found dollar. For the rest of the world and the Chinese, it's probably a lost dollar. So I think that's going to be very interesting to see how that goes with their bonds and whatnot. But they've been in trouble for the last couple of years. So we'll see what happens there.
All right.
That's all I got. I know I'm saving the last for David. David's part is last, so not to worry.
David's is last. John or Kurt, you got one?
All right, so I got this last Sunday, Argentina, they had the primary elections. And primary elections in Argentina, anybody can vote. So it's sort of it's a preliminary look at what the election results are most likely going to be, in October. And a guy called, Javier Milei got the top amount of votes, which is 30%. The other two parties got, in the high 20s, 27, 29. And he considered himself a liberal, and he's really considered, a right wing, but he's not really. He's like the left is shit, and we gotta, get rid of all the shit that they've brought. We're gonna close down the central bank, and we're gonna dollarize the economy. We're gonna eliminate half the ministries that we have to eight essential ones. So he's sort of a a fresh air, and so I guess it's a lot of potential dollar wins for Argentina if he wins.
It's an Argentine experiment.
It's an Argentine experiment. Very cool.
So the other, and so that's a dollar win, and dollar lose. I think interest rates continue to go up, especially on the long end of the bond market. So now you have mortgage rates are at 7.09 for a 30-year mortgage. So maybe it's a dollar loss there for a lot of people, and a lot of people are stuck. They're not stuck, but if they want to move, they don't really want to move because they got a 3% mortgage, and so that's.
So they're stuck, John. You're right. That's a loss.
Yeah. So
all right,
it's a loss.
Kurt or Michael, who wants to go next?
Well, all I have is a loss, and it's over there in the UK, the NHS, their healthcare service. They've been tanking, losing money, hundreds of billions of pounds over a long period of time. Now they're going to private equity. And it's you got it.
That's good.
Yeah, and it's also losing left and right in the private equity sector. So yeah, just lose. So we'll put that as a big loss.
Wow.
Okay, Michael.
Well,
I got the David at last. So go ahead, Michael.
Yeah. No, I'll do a domestic story, and one that hits really close to home because my mother's family and my family lives out in Hawaii, and specifically in Maui.
Oh my goodness!
You guys heard Lahaina. I mean, my heart goes out to Lahaina and the residents there got burned to the ground, and no one really knows why or how it happened. That the high winds, small fires, and a lot happened. But so that's definitely a loss for Lahaina and a loss for the culture of not just Hawaii but our entire community, entire country. But the plus side of it is that the community is coming together. And one recommendation I would make for the people on the show is if you want to make a contribution, my brother works at the Sacred Heart School of Lahaina. School got burned to the ground. They're raising money to rebuild the school. And people are coming out of the woodwork all over the country to support the Sacred Heart School. So their direct giving is going to be the thing that's going to help Lahaina really rebuild. So it could be a found dollar over time, but hearts go out to that.
I agree. That's true. All right, now to lighten up the mood.
Do it.
This is for David, and he won't watch it, so he won't say anything. David, there's a guy named George Church here in Texas. He's founded over 50 companies, and they all deal with genetics. His latest project is called Colossal Bioscience. It's the most outlandish yet. It's a Texas-based startup, the spinoff of License of Technologies. He's got Peter Thiel, so you know it's going to fail. Paris Hilton and Thomas Tull as investors. And what he wants to do is he wants to bring back the woolly mammoth. It's an article today in the Financial Times. Thank you, Financial Times. And he is, whatchamacallit, he is going to bring back the woolly mammoth.
Are we going to do is this a Jurassic Park all over again?
It could be. It could be. I will, for people that follow me on LinkedIn, I will post this on LinkedIn. You can read the article there. But yes, this is what this is. And we're going to reach out to George and his company to see if he wants to come on the Lost Dollar Business Club and be a guest. And he can tell us about why he's going to bring back the dinosaurs.
I think we need to get Paris Hilton on because I think she's really the loose cannon in this whole thing. We need to know where she's going with this.
Yeah.
Well, here's the only problem. Here's the only problem with that. I don't know Paris, and I don't know how to get a hold of her. So if somebody does, sure, Paris can come on. But I could care less about Paris. I want George Church. I want to hear about the woolly mammoth experiment so bad. So I wanted to come on Lost Dollar Business Club and do a whole show just on this company. Are you kidding? This will be awesome.
Let's do it.
So if anybody knows George Church in Texas, have him give us a holler. If not, George, we're coming after you. I only mean that in a good way. He's also going to do the Tasmanian tiger, the Dodo. He's trying to bring back
He's trying to
everything.
bring them all back. All right.
I'm hoping he brings back Orson Welles and Alfred Hitchcock too. I mean, that'll be awesome. So that'll be very cool.
God.
But everybody, this was an awesome show. We'll see everybody
All right.
next Saturday morning. Show airs at 6:00 in the morning Eastern time, and you can watch it on YouTube or pick it up where you get your favorite podcast. If you don't want to watch the whole show, you can look at Lost and Found on our TikTok feed. And that's it, guys. We'll see everybody next week. Cheers.
All right, ciao.
All right.